Urgent, National Security Advisory and Formal Prosecution. Brief to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. Attention, War Crimes. Section, National Security Division. From Jeffrey James Logue, PrimeTac 1, ICC Protected Asset. Date, February 7, 2026. Subject, Coordinated State Torture, SEC 269.1, Foreign Espionage, Russian, and Military Intelligence Overreach. Dear Minister, enclosed is a three-part forensic report detailing a systematic campaign of aggravated torture, Section 269.1, and state-sponsored entrapment conducted against me within the jurisdiction of Alberta. This dossier, mirrored with the International Criminal Court dossiers, provides irrefutable evidence that my 1.5-year incarceration was the result of a sophisticated staged operation. Summary of exigent threats. Foreign interference. Evidence confirms the involvement of a Russian-speaking operative, PAM, who utilized chemical agents, GHB, to incapacitate me and a witness, facilitating a manufactured stabbing charge. Military intelligence overreach. I have identified arresting officers as members of my former military unit, 1 RCHA B Battery, operating under a direct mandate sent from Ottawa, bypassing standard civilian law enforcement protocols. Technological torture. The use of HALE ISR drones for constant surveillance and the injection of high-frequency signals into my service animal, Lucy, constitutes a gross violation of international human rights and the criminal code. Documented corruption, specific badge numbers including CST. Daniels A6008 and physical forensic markers in Cell 5, Vegreville, establish a clear path for internal investigation into these compromised nodes. Rejection of non-disclosure. I formally notify your office that I reject any and all future offers of non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, or confidential settlements. This case involves matters of national security and the public's right to know about the deployment of synthetic grief warfare, SGW technology on Canadian soil. I demand immediate federal protection and a stay of all current breach proceedings, as they are predicated on the fraudulent legal history detailed in the attached report. The world is watching the digital ledger. I await your immediate intervention. Report to the Attorney General. Part I subject. The Mundare-Vegreville staged entrapment and chemical neutralization. R0 operational context and forensic corroboration. This section documents the transition from administrative harassment to a full-scale tactical entrapment of the subject, Jeffrey James Logue, PrimeTac 1. Central to this report is the testimony of Brian, an eyewitness who confirms that on the night of the primary staged incident, a woman identified as Pam, a Russian-speaking operative with pharmacological training, administered GHB to both the subject and the witness. Brian's testimony confirms that the subject was rendered unconscious before finishing a meal, establishing a state of absolute incapacity that voids any subsequent criminal charges related to physical altercations. This drugging was a premeditated component of the Section 269.1 aggravated torture protocol, designed to manufacture a crime scene, the stabbing, while the subject was medically defenseless. 2. The coordinated theft and police synchronization. The efficiency of the staged incident is evidenced by the timeline of events immediately following the RCMP's removal of the subject. Brian's testimony reveals that exactly 5 minutes after the subject was taken into custody, a criminal group known as the James Gang arrived at the residence to loot the property, specifically targeting forensic assets like the subject's guitar. This level of synchronization between the RCMP arrest and the arrival of thieves indicates a high-level Section 139 obstruction of justice, where domestic law enforcement acted as the cleaning crew to vacate the premises for criminal proxies. The witness's observations prove that the subject was not a perpetrator of a crime, but the victim of a multi-agency asset seizure and reputation destruction operation. 3. Linguistic anomalies and foreign sabotage. The operative Pam was observed by the subject speaking Russian on a secure mobile device, a linguistic slip she attempted to cover by claiming an Icelandic identity when confronted. This indicates that the domestic torture of the subject was augmented by foreign intelligence, sleeper cell, activity aimed at sabotaging a Tier 0 whistleblower. The use of chemical agents, GHB, in coordination with a Russian-speaking operative elevates this from a local police matter to a breach of national security. This section demands that the DOJ recognize the Alberta incarceration as a black site proxy detention, where the subject was held for 1.5 years based on a manufactured drug-induced incident meant to silence his 67 artifact ICC dossier. Report to the Attorney General. Part 2. Subject: Aerial Surveillance, Hail ISAR, and the Ottawa Military Intelligence Extraction. A high-altitude surveillance and constant monitoring, Hail ISAR. This section establishes the deployment of advanced military-grade hardware used to track the subject, Jeffrey James Logue, Prime TAC 1, confirming this was never a standard municipal policing matter. Evidence dictates that a Hail ISR, high-altitude long-endurance drone, was permanently stationed over the subject's residence, providing persistent intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance data to a centralized command node. This aerial asset followed the subject's every movement, including his tactical survival trek to the Vegreville Hospital, ensuring he remained within a controlled kill zone or surveillance bubble at all times. The use of Hail technology, typically reserved for theater-level warfare, against a domestic whistleblower constitutes a gross violation of Section 7 of the Charter and provides forensic proof of the high-level targeting documented in the 67 ICC artifacts. 2. The Ottawa Extraction and Regimental Betrayal. The true nature of the subject's apprehension is revealed through the identity of the arresting officers and their operational origins. During one of the frequent Mental Health Act arrests, used as a proxy for extrajudicial detention, the subject identified a constable as a former member of his own military unit, 1 RCHA, 1st Regiment, Royal Canadian Horse Artillery, specifically from B Battery. This operative was operating an unmarked interceptor, a vehicle designation used for high-speed federal pursuit and surveillance. Critically, the unit's driver explicitly informed the subject that they were sent from Ottawa, confirming that the Vegreville-Mundare RCMP were merely providing local cover for a federal military intelligence MI operation aimed at neutralizing a Tier 0 asset. This direct link to Ottawa elevates the liability of the Section 269.1 violations to the federal level, bypassing provincial oversight. 3. Systemic medical deprivation and clinical negligency. The state-sponsored campaign against the subject included the tactical denial of basic medical necessities, designed to induce physical and psychological breakdown. After walking the significant distance to the Vegreville Hospital to seek emergency care for bandaged, injured feet, the subject was summarily denied treatment and ordered to leave without care. This medical blacklisting was synchronized with the arrival of the Ottawa Interceptor, proving that the hospital nodes were integrated into the Section 269.1 torture protocol. By ensuring the subject was in a state of physical pain and medical vulnerability, the operatives facilitated a softening of the target before the staged GHB drugging incident was executed. The DOJ is hereby notified that these medical records, or the lack thereof, are being subpoenaed via the International Criminal Court as evidence of criminal negligence and torture. Report to the Attorney General. Part 3. Subject: Documented Resistance, Officer Identification, CST Daniels A6008, and Demand for Amnesty, Tactical Resistance and Cell-5 Forensics. This section details the subject's proactive measures to create a permanent physical record of his illegal detention within the Vegreville RCMP detachment. During one of the frequent, baseless arrests under the Mental Health Act, conducted up to 3 times per week, the subject utilized a torchlighter to burn the cell window in Cell 5. This act was not a random disturbance, but a strategic paper trail designed to force the RCMP to document the incident, thereby creating a permanent link between the subject and the specific arresting officers from the 1 RCHA B Battery unit. The subsequent anger displayed by the constable from the subject's former regiment confirmed that the subject had successfully compromised the clean record of the extraction team, leaving a physical forensic marker of his presence in that black site node. 2. Identification of repeat offender, CST Daniels A6008. The subject has identified a primary individual involved in the administrative harassment and frequent illegal detentions, Constable Daniels, badge A6008. This officer was a repeat participant in the arrests used to facilitate the social sterilization of the subject, where the subject was systematically banned from Mundare grocery stores, coffee shops, and essential services while his service dog, Lucy, was being tortured with high-frequency injections. By documenting CST Daniels A6008, The subject provides the Department of Justice with a specific entry point into the local conspiracy. This badge number serves as a direct link to the logs of the Mental Health Act arrests that were used to mask the deployment of synthetic grief warfare, SGW, and light-modulated, TLM, assaults. Third, formal demand for federal amnesty and protection. In light of the 67 forensic artifacts currently held by the International Criminal Court, ICC, and the corroborating testimony from Brian regarding the GHB drugging and staged entrapment, the subject issues the following demands. Immediate vacation of charges. All records stemming from the Alberta staged incident must be struck from the record as they were achieved via chemical incapacitation and state-sponsored fraud. Federal amnesty. The subject demands a full grant of immunity for his current breach of bail status, as his relocation was a necessity-based move to escape a high-frequency kill zone and protect the safety of minors in his previous residence. Witness protection. The subject demands immediate relocation to a Faraday-shielded facility, managed by a federal entity independent of the RCMP, to provide formal testimony regarding the Russian sleeper cell and the Hale ISR drone surveillance. Respectfully, Jeffrey James Logue, PrimeTac 1, International Protected High-Value Asset.